Um, I won't go all the way back because it's a very long story, but basically I'd had a musical experience. I'd bought a saxophone, and 2 weeks after I'd bought it, I was trying to play along with a jazz record, and I was trying to get the mode of the music that was on the record and try and feel my way into it, and suddenly something kicked in, and suddenly I was playing, and it was complete freedom, and I was flying all over the place. I was playing precisely all the notes that I ever dreamt of playing, and it was just a completely liberating experience. And the next evening I thought, right, I've cracked it, I know how to play now. And I picked up my saxophone, and it just wasn't there. What I'd had that evening had completely gone. And so I thought, now what happened there? I mean, it's something amazing happened there, and how can I get it back? And I had this experience 2 or 3 times, sometimes playing with other people, which was an incredible experience as well, because you seem to enter an area where, without saying anything to the other person, you were on each other's wavelength, and it was very tight. And I could see this happening as well in other performances, great performances of music, and subsequently I've learned all art sort of comes from that space, was highly spontaneous, and it came from somewhere within. And I read books where musicians were saying, I become my instrument and my instrument becomes me, and I'm no longer human. One jazz musician was saying, this music is coming directly to you from the creator. And so I knew there was something that I wanted to find, and I was looking into the coolness of the whole jazz thing, the whole cool side of jazz, being relaxed, in command of the situation. And so that led me to, well, how do you become relaxed in that way? And so I started looking at meditation, and I was reading books on meditation. At that time I was reading different scriptures as well. For some reason I started reading all different scriptures and realizing that they were all saying the same thing. All the virtues in all these great people were talking about, the Buddhists, Muhammad, Lao Tzu, they're all saying the same thing, and I couldn't understand why no one else could see that. And at the same time I moved out of London and moved into the countryside, and I was becoming more and more of a recluse, because I was feeling that no one really was on that wavelength, and wondering really what it was all about, when some friends of mine came down for the weekend, and they had in tow with them a Saj yogi, and we went down the pub, and the first noticeable thing was that this guy wasn't drinking, and I said, oh, why aren't you drinking? And he said, it's my meditation, man. If you meditate properly, you don't need to drink. I thought, oh, this sounds interesting, because I'd already come to the conclusion that maybe these these habits weren't good for one. And then I said, well, why not? He said, well, it's your kundalini. It affects the kundalini. I said, well, what's the kundalini? And he said, I can't tell you. I said, well, is it the Tao? Because the first stanza in the Tao Te Ching is, the Tao that is spoken is not the sacred Tao. And he said, well, I don't know what the Tao Te Ching is, but I mean, we know now that the Tao is the same as Kundalini. And so we went back to the house, and I asked him more, and he said, oh, there's this Indian lady behind it, and he said, here, go and listen to this tape. He didn't come into the room with me. I was listening to this tape. He just sent me into another room, and I listened to the tape. And I suppose I felt very meditative while I was listening to the tape. And then afterwards, he didn't say anything more about Saj Yoga.
What was in the tape?
Well, the funny thing about what was on the tape was that Sri Mataji was actually talking about it being now the time that the the sages and seers come up, down from the mountains and out of the woods and back into the cities because we were needed there. I thought, oh no, I've just moved out of London.
Which year was this? Which time?
This is 1980. It's
1980.
precisely 30. Well, I met Sri Mataji for the first time precisely 30 years ago last Wednesday.
Oh, fantastic. What was it like when you met her?
Well, because I'd taken quite a few drugs, so I suppose I was expecting something a little bit more cosmic than I actually got on the evening. I was expecting, a lot of fireworks, and it wasn't like that at all. Saj Yoga is never what you expect it to be, and it was very serene, very subtle. I can't say I felt vibrations. I felt sensations in my back. I felt a lot of love from the yogis and from Sri Mataji herself. But I went away feeling that something had definitely happened, but I couldn't put my finger on what. And I felt it in my heart, yes, that something had happened.